Every year, another name with that signature beard, wrestling base, and ice-cold composure shows up. And suddenly, the division looks different. It's not a coincidence. It's not hype. There's a system behind it. A style built in the mountains, sharpened in sambo tournaments, and drilled through a culture that treats fighting like survival. The question isn't if a Dagestani will rise, which one is next. And once you understand why, you'll see why this takeover feels unstoppable. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev, Umar Nurmagomedov, Movsar Evloev, Shavkat Rakhmonov. It feels like every time you check the UFC rankings, another Dagestani name is sitting near the top. But why? Why are these guys dominating the UFC, one weight class at a time? And more importantly, why does it feel like they're systematically taking over? Let's break it down. The Dagestani style. So first up, the style. What is Dagestani MMA? In simple words, it's wrestling pressure turned into a nightmare. Dagestani fighters chain wrestle like machines. They don't just take you down once, they keep shooting, clinching, tripping, dragging, until you eventually collapse. But here's the kicker. Once you're down, you're not getting back up. Because Dagestanis don't just wrestle, they smother. Wrist control, Dagestani handcuff, legs trapped in a figure four. It's like quicksand. The harder you fight, the deeper you sink. Why does it matter? Because in MMA, cardio and control beat raw power 9 times out of 10. A Dagestani fighter doesn't need to KO you. He can just drown you. Go back to UFC 229. Khabib versus Conor. Conor's one of the best strikers in MMA history. Khabib didn't care. He mauled him, dragged him across the cage, and tapped him in round 4. That fight showed the world what the Dagestani style really means. But the scary part? Khabib wasn't an exception. He was just the first warning shot. The mountain training. Now let's talk about where these guys come from. Dagestan is brutal, harsh winters, rough terrain, and a culture where toughness isn't optional. Kids here don't just play soccer in the streets. They wrestle. They fight. They grow up grappling on mats, in gyms, in small clubs run by old-school coaches. And here's where it gets wild. Many Dagestani fighters start at age 5 or 6. By the time they're teenagers, they've already trained longer than some UFC fighters did before turning pro. Why does it matter? Because fighting isn't just a sport there, it's survival, it's identity. There's a famous story about Khabib wrestling a bear as a kid. People laughed when they first saw the video, but it wasn't a gimmick. That's normal toughness training in Dagestan. Now, imagine this. You've got some American fighter who started MMA at 18 because he liked UFC. And then, across from him is a Dagestani guy who's been grinding wrestling for 15 years already. Who do you think has the edge? The coaching system, aka Abdulmanap's legacy. Now, let's talk about coaches, because if Dagestan is the soil, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov was the gardener. Khabib's father wasn't just a coach. He built a system. He took Soviet-era wrestling, added sambo, judo, striking, and turned it into a complete MMA style. And here's the key. He didn't train fighters. He trained armies. Because when one fighter succeeds, he pulls 10 others with him. Abdulmanap didn't just want champions, he wanted Dagestani dominance. Look at Khabib's gym today. Even after Abdulmanap passed away, Khabib and Islam continued the system. Fighters like Usman Nurmagomedov, Bellator champion, and Umar are following the same blueprint. It's not a random success, it's a conveyor belt. But the worst part for the competition? This conveyor belt doesn't stop. Every year, new monsters keep coming, and they're all trained the same way. Discipline first, ego second. The discipline. Now let's be real. MMA is full of distractions, fame, money, partying, trash talk. How many fighters have we seen lose their focus the moment they hit stardom? Dagestanis? Different story. Most of them live by religious and cultural discipline. No alcohol, no clubs, no big scandals. Just family, training, and faith. Because discipline outlasts hype. And in the UFC, careers aren't just won by talent. They're won by consistency. Khabib retired at 29-0, not because he couldn't keep going, but because discipline told him family came first after his father's death. Meanwhile, how many stars like Jon Jones or Conor derailed themselves with outside-the-cage drama? The UFC's new reality. So here's the big question. Is Dagestan really taking over the UFC? Let's check the numbers. Islam Makhachev is the lightweight champ. Khabib retired undefeated as lightweight champ. Umar Nurmagomedov is undefeated and climbing bantamweight. Movsar Evloev is undefeated and climbing featherweight. Usman Nurmagomedov already took over Bellator's lightweight division. This isn't hype, it's a pattern. Because styles win fights, And Dagestani style is kryptonite for most UFC fighters. If you can't wrestle at their level, you drown. If you try to outstrike, they drag you down anyway. Look at Islam versus Charles Oliveira. Everyone thought Charles's jiu-jitsu would neutralize Islam. Instead, Islam walked through him, dominated, and tapped the submission king. That's dominance on another level. The conveyor belt isn't stopping. The new generation, Umar, Usman, and others we haven't even heard of yet, are already lining up. So if you're asking, is this just a phase? The answer is no. It's systematic. It's cultural. It's here to stay. Dagestani fighters aren't just dominating the UFC. They're rewriting what dominance even looks like. From mountains to cages, from fathers to sons, it's a system built for war. And if you thought Khabib was the peak, trust me, he was just the beginning. If you like this breakdown, subscribe, and you'll definitely want to check out my video on richest MMA fighters in UFC.